My trip to Disney had to end at some point. Hi, I'm Nanny. I'm a textile designer and I went to Disneyland, dressed as Ariel. Disneybounding! And this time, for the last time this year, the Little Mermaid. Let's start this, shall we? Here I decided to go with the color palette of her mermaid form. For the skirt I will use the purple from her shells, and for the top I will use the green from her tail. That's what I had planned, but when I went to buy the fabric there wasn't any in the colors that I needed, so I had to invert things. Yes, I am doing a mermaid skirt, and for that I need a little bit of stretchiness, otherwise my ass is going to explode in this skirt. That being said, I am going for the original deal. I want to make a stamped pattern, and for that I will carve for the skirt some nice fish scales in different motifs, and for the top I will do Sebastian and Flounder among other sea creatures. My circle making thingy was broken and I didn't have a replacement for the tip, so I just taped some colored pencil to it. The carving of the scales requires a little bit of math. I need 3 perfect circles aligned in a manner that I can cut the perfect stamps, allowing them to fit each other seamlessly. I wanted 3 stamps, one with lines representing some kind of wavy thing, one only with circles for bubbles, I guess, and a plain one just to add a little bit of contrast to the piece. These carving tools can be found at Amazon for pretty much nothing. And the carving block I also bought online. I add thumbtacks to the back of the stamps so that I know which one is which, and so that I can lift them better from the fabric. Hello, here's Nanny from the future. Now that I'm editing this video, I just realized that I lost all of the footage of me carving the characters, but here you go. I carved Flounder, Sebastian, Ursula, some bubbles, one of those cool seahorses with the hairs, some shells, stars, and a fork, of course. I tried to balance the negative space with the contour ones so I have a little bit of color contrast on the blouse. Before you cut anything, you have to stamp the fabric. Here, I am mixing my own colors. I want a slightly darker purple than the one I have for the blouse. There's no method here. You just have to stamp as randomly as possible. I just suggest that you don't concentrate too many of the same characters on one side and forget to stamp them on the other, so you have a balanced pattern. But other than that, you're free to do whatever the hell you want. Here's the same for the green fabric, but I mixed 3 different colors, so I have a little bit of randomness because this pattern is very geometric, and the only way that I can get some randomness is by adding different colors and different shapes. That's why we have 3 different scales. But if you would rather have one color only, it's also up to you. This is your garment and your playground to do whatever you want. That's why textile design is so fun. I have been thinking, I want a mermaid skirt with a little flare here. It will be high-waisted. Since I am not really feeling the pattern all over it, I will just use pattern here, and I cut 2 panels on the side. We'll also have the pattern, and also there will be no seam on the side panels, so when you look it from the side, oops, let's pretend this is my ass, you will see this. So here is all pattern and here is all pattern, and the rest is just green. This is the pattern that I came up with, the flare. This is the side panel without the seam, and these are front and back. If you're not into drawing your own patterns, I suggest you use this Burda 6469, and this one here on the left. It's almost the same look I am going for. The only thing that you're going to need to do is cut the side panels front and back, glue those pieces together on a piece of paper aligned with a lower hip line. Draw a squared line from the lower hip line, measure this gap right here. Then remove the same quantities from each of the sides. I do this by adding 1 inch markings to the center line. Then I measure each one of those yellow lines and remove the same amount from the end of the pattern. Mark what is front and back, because things can get messy, and there you go, you have your seamless side panel. Make an all punch right here where the panel meets the side seam, and make sure that you sew that in place first, otherwise unwanted bumps will appear. Proof your seams to see if both sides fit, and sew away. Now for the top, I will do a simple top where I tie it on the back of my neck, and it's also like this. So when you look from behind, you have here a bow, and you have here also a bow. You get it? You get it? Tell me you get it. totally understandable. Look at this drawing. It's totally understandable. Here I manipulated all the darts only to have the front dart and cut it as a triangle, adding 2 other triangles to the side and a long strip of fabric to tie my neck.
Looks like nothing. Oh Alter!
After watching Steve cry like a little girl because of his spicy noodles, I finished the pattern. After that, you just have to cut the fabric. And may I please tell you that I tried to make the headpiece for this outfit, but it turned out like this. Yes, I am not a good head maker.
Yeah, I cut everything and now it's time to sew it all together. Yeah, I'm feeling kind of confident about this, but let's see.
And while I sew this, let's go to story time. The true face of The Little Mermaid. We all know and love the Disney version from 1989. Ariel is an ungrateful daughter who hoards items from sunken ships. She saves Eric from drowning, falls in love with him, then goes to Ursula to turn human. She exchanges her voice for a spell and she has a few days for a true love's kiss, otherwise she will turn into one of those worm thingies. Everything goes well. She finds Eric, he takes her home, they almost kiss, but Ursula decides to intervene and she transforms herself into evil Ariel, using her voice to hypnotize the prince and trick him into marrying her instead of Ariel. They have a fight. The shell containing Ariel's voice breaks, releasing it back to its rightful owner. Eric's spell is broken and he recognizes her, but the kiss comes too late. She transforms back into a mermaid and turns into Ursula's slave. Triton trades places with her. Ursula becomes the new ruler and they fight again. Ursula is huge and is impaled by Eric's ship. Triton turns Ariel into a human again. They get married and live happily ever after.
I'm Squidward. I promise you I have no problems. No problems.
The original story comes from Denmark, and although everyone says they are the happiest people on earth, things get pretty dark, somewhat even depressing. Ariel lives with her older sisters in the ocean. When a mermaid turns 15, she's allowed to go to the surface to check things out. When she finally gets to go, she witnesses the handsome prince's birthday party on a ship and falls in love with him instantly. The storm sinks the ship and she saves him, bringing him ashore, where he is found by another lady. He, however, never sees Ariel, and he doesn't know that she is the one who really saved him. She's back home and depressed, so she decides to visit the sea witch, which gives her a potion to give her legs in exchange for her tongue and beautiful voice. The only way she can stay a human forever is if she marries the prince, because she needs a human soul, and by marrying him, a piece of his will fly into her. If she doesn't manage to do that, she will die and turn into sea foam. She agrees, takes the potion, her tail splits in half, and with each step she takes, she feels the pain of 1,000 knives, and her feet bleed constantly. What a life. She becomes best friends with the prince. They are together all the time. He even rejects an arranged marriage because he's in love with someone else. But plot twist, it is not the Little Mermaid, but rather the woman who first found him at the beach and that he believes saved his life. Turns out that this girl was indeed the girl from the arranged marriage, so they rejoice and set the day for the wedding. Ariel's heart breaks and she awaits death, but her sisters come to her rescue with a knife they got from the sea witch in exchange for their beautiful hair. She has to kill the prince and drip his blood onto her feet in order to break the curse, but she can't, as she loves him so much, so she throws herself into the water, turning into foam. She doesn't just disappear though. She is now a daughter of the air, and because her motives weren't selfish, she is allowed to get a soul and go to heaven, but only after 300 years of community service on earth. And now excuse me, I have to go crying in the shower.
This is the part I hate the most. Always. In case you're wondering what I'm using, this is no fancy equipment. This is just a broken piece of Gardinenhalter. It worked. Now, the skirt.
Although the assembly is pretty easy, I lost a needle there because the amount of pins that I used was way too high for my uncoordinated hands.
Oh, everything's a mess. I still had some purple left. I added a purple facing to the flare that hopefully you will be able to see only when I'm walking and not all the time. That is a beautiful flare.
Adding a facing to your flare is the easiest way of making a hem because you're making curves, and hemming curves is a nightmare. Make sure you understitch the lining so it doesn't roll out and ruin your look.
Flare installed. Now I will add a facing on the waistline and the zipper, and we're done with the skirt for now. zipper and facing are done. Now the final finishing touches on the overlock machine. This frailing
Finish the facing with the overlock so they don't frail away and you end up naked in the wild.
This I will have to finish by hand, so I will see you in a few hours. Goodbye. So all completed. Some troubleshooting was necessary. I did close this with the overlock. The tailoring gods might be screaming right now, but I did add the interfacing after I was done sewing. So I have more structure on the waist because it was rolling out even with the inside stitching. So it's time for the reveal.
Bam! Closing the series with a bang. Ariel, this is by far the most liberating design I've ever made in a while. Do you know why? I have always been kinda self-conscious when it comes to my body, but now that I'm an old person, I don't care anymore. I have the famous hip dip, which meant to me that I would never be able to wear a pencil skirt in my life. So I never did. This is my very first pencil skirt ever. It's like, what? It doesn't look that bad at all. And yes, I am showing my bacon, and so should you. Release the bacon. I think this will even turn to my channel slogan from now on. Let's release the bacon. Jokes aside, this took me only a few hours to put together, and although it does not look like it, it's very easy to sew. The only part that takes a while is of course the stamping of the fabric. This is very therapeutic, so I do recommend. I waited 10 minutes online to pay for flounder and my headpiece because the woman before me was having some existential crisis with the cashier. Steve was somewhat annoyed. The skirt was very comfortable. I was able to go up and down the stairs without a problem because I didn't sew that opening in the back, so I had to make sure that I have enough space to move my legs. And it worked out. The fabric I chose for the skirt is pretty comfortable as well, although it's a little bit thicker. It was not that warm. And the decision only to put the patterns on the side panels was a good one because it was more of a subtle thing other than, oh, you're wearing a fishtail. My clothes need some interpretation, some philosophical interpretation. Yeah, just sometimes. This was the only look that I was 100% not scared of being kicked out of Disney because it is hard to remake a mermaid without having a full tail on.
Where are you going? Come back! Come back! Look out for the ducks! Oh no!
People recognize me as being Ariel without having the weird looks that I faced with the other ones, especially Rapunzel. So this is the last episode of the Disneybounding series for 2019. I might do this in the future sometime soon because I had so much fun. What do you think? Which ones were your favorite? I think the next time I will do some of my favorite villains because princess can be boring sometimes, especially the older ones. And remember, you're the boss of your wardrobe and your body, so don't get in your head too much as I used to do. Just wear whatever you want. Be happy. Life is too short not to wear pencil skirts. If you like some unconventional fashion and sewing shenanigans, be sure to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week. Bye!
Look at this beautiful Ariel that I found hanging here all alone under the flowers. Everybody! Look at all those chickens!